Alright YouTube, this is going to be a plumbing video and kind of just an overall update for you guys. So let me start out. I got the, I call these things the rails, but those are the returns feeding the tank. They're all 1 inch, 4 of them, in all the corners. They're threaded bulkheads, and I'm put a vortex, a little lock line, I don't know what, the swivel connection thing. That way we can adjust where the flow goes. It'll increase the flow for me a little bit. So, as you know, it's a 180 gallon tank. The flow to the tank, it's 1 inch on these rails going over there. The pump that's in the sump is a Waveline 12,000. It does 3,100 gallons an hour. So it's going to be coming from over there. Comes to this T. That's the only part where the water, you know, is going to have a little bit of created a head right there with that T. But it's the way I figured would be best. It looked the best and everything, and it divides up both sides equally. I did look around for a Y fitting, but I could not find a true Y. So without the true Y, one side would be getting fed a little bit more water than the other, and I didn't want that. So I teed it. So it's 1.25 inches coming off the pump, all the way up to right here, all the way to the two sides. As you see, it steps down to 1 inch. And then, so Memorex, he suggested putting some ball valves on these returns. That way I can adjust them. What I came up with is putting a T here. That might allow too much water at the end, or it might just work out to be perfect. If not, I'll add some ball valves down there at the end, or on this drain right here. It just depends, you know. I think it should be okay like this. And so next is the this other pipe sticking out right here, shooting down. That is going to have a check valve, and it's going to be reversed, so when the pump is on, it's going to hold it closed. If the pump turns off for any reason, power, or when I shut it off, so I don't get a lot of flood back to the sump, the check valve will open up, suck air in, and let air get in the line. That's kind of why I've placed it right there. So it'll fill the air, it'll line up with air instead of continuing to siphon. So it'll break that. If the check valve doesn't close when the pump's on, going, you know, out the pipe, it'll just put water into the tank. You know, just you know, I'll know that it failed instead of it failing open and flooding my garage out. So I watched a video with Mark at Mel's Reef. I think it's an excellent idea to stop the backflow to your sump. So I gotta give him credit for that. That's the first place I've seen it. And I've got the overflow. Let me take this off. The overflow in my tank, excuse me for 1 second, I forgot about that. It's gonna shake for just a minute, sorry. Okay, whoops. Okay, I'm back, sorry. So the overflow is external. I picked this kind of a setup because my old tank had an overflow box inside of it, and it popped out right in the center. It was hard to aquascape with that. It kind of divided the tank up into two. So I just wanted to have a nice open space inside. I'm going to do islands, and I won't have any overflows or any pipes in the way, so it'll just be a nice clean look. Up here I went with the Herbie drain style. That way they're completely silent, and what you have to do is as the overflow comes out, you have these standpipes which are connected to open pipes. Open meaning there's no ball valves, nothing to restrict it, so it's just a wide open standpipe. And then your main drains, because this one standpipes are emergency if the mains plug up. So the main will just be a full siphon, and then it'll remain full siphon because you'll have a little bit of back pressure here when you close it down. You'll control the water line, the water level inside the box, inside this overflow. So I'll adjust it to where it's right, just slightly above that standpipe, so I get a little surface skimming. I thought this would be the best. On my old videos, the tank I bought in the past, the tank had a 1-inch. Well, it had 2 holes drained in drilled in the overflow. One was a 1-inch and a 1/2 inch, and it just didn't work for anything. You couldn't run a Herbie style in there. It was meant originally to have a 1/2 inch supply on a 100-gallon reef. Whoever set that up did not know what they're doing, and I bought it because I didn't know what I was doing either. Learning, and after all the stuff that I learned and all the problems I had with it, that's why you see 2-inch drains and you see 4 of them. So I've learned the hard way, and hopefully this time I got it correct. So that's how I'm setting the drains up. That kind of system's dead silent. This is what it came out. Got everything glued in. You see a little printing, the scans that were at Home Depot printed stuff on the pipes, the sizing and whatnot. I'm going to do some little touch-up paint on that, and wherever you see a little bit of glue lines. But overall, I mean, I think I did a pretty good job on it. 2 inches is no joke to work with. It's a lot tougher than 1 inch and 1/2 inch and whatnot. So it was kind of tough to get these all lined up. There's a lot of videos out there on how to run piping, so I'm not going to get into that. I watched a lot of them. Everyone's kind of putting the black marks on the pipe, so you have a black mark on both pieces, so you know how far, where to glue it, how far to push it in, and where to line it up. And it works for the most part. You got to be careful. I'll show you some of the other pieces where when I was gluing, I turned the fitting upside down, so then my marks didn't line up, and then I kind of got the fitting off a little bit, so it's not quite lined up. So I'll show you that in just a moment. But on to how I do my water changes. There's back up over here, there's a hole here. You've probably seen it on the other videos. That's the drain for my water changes. And the bulkhead's 3/4. It's just going to come out here, and then runs up against the wall. 90's over. I got some vibration. It's just styrofoam, but it's there for vibration. It's going to come over here. I got my ball valve, true union fitting, so I'll just, that'll be, I'll drain my tank that way and then turn it off. What I'll do is, let me show you the rest of it. So it just goes here, goes over here, and then 45s down into the sink. So I don't have to, move any buckets for the draining of the water change. And for the to fill it back up, I'll use this blue bucket over here, container, and it fits under here when I'm not using it, or if I want to keep it under there and add salt to it, I'll put a little hook on this board here and then hang the heater and the pump from that hook, and that way it'll be kind of in the center of the drum. At least the heater will. That way it doesn't touch the sides and whatnot. And then how I'll know when I'm doing a water change, the first time I drain it, I'll just, instead of draining it to the sink, I'll probably drain it and fill that bucket up, and then I'll mark with a piece of tape on my tank how far it drops down, and then it's just easiest just to open this valve, let it drop down that tape line, close the valve, and then have the water pre-made and just pump it, stick a pump, power head in there with a hose, a flexible hose, right back to the tank. I could even keep it right there and hard pipe the pump inside there, and then put a T right here and 2 more valves. So I'll, if I did that, I would keep this closed once I'm done draining, and then I'd open the other 2 valves, and then it would flow in there. But that's a lot of extra work when you could just run a hose, right to the tank. It takes 2 seconds. But that aside, so here's all the piping. I'm figuring this pipe's going to weigh a lot with the water in there, so I've got some strapping that I was showing you before. Oh, and while I'm over here, let me show you. I have MP40s that I had from my other tank, and it just so happens that I already placed them in there, and it works out perfect. They have enough room. One's going to be placed here. I have two, so I need to buy one more. One's going to be placed above that hole, and one's going to be in between those two drains. I got lucky with it. I really didn't know where I was going to put my MP40s to make some waves in the tank. So so the hole in there, and it just worked out where the MP40s are halfway up, and there's going to be 3 of them on that back wall. So they'll look nice. They'll kind of blend in with the black, and it'll look real sweet. So there won't be anything on these 3 sides for viewing. So it'll just be completely clean looking. Probably thinking maybe box something out here with some plywood in this opening maybe, or maybe, you know, one of these sides and put all my controls there, drill holes for the wires to go behind it, so the wires, you know, you won't see wires everywhere, you know, something like that. And then here's how the plumbing turned out over here. Now this was difficult. The shortest pipe turned out to be the hardest one. You know, when you cut, you mark it and you cut it and you start putting it together. You only have so much. When you push that thing together, man, it's gonna, in about 10 seconds, you know, it's too tough to even pull apart. So I had to like lift the tank up and set this one down in there. So I glued the whole thing just in case. That's why it's blue right there. So I'll get a small touch-up paintbrush and just touch up with white, and you know, just clean them up a little bit, get all the black dots off there that I used to glue everything together. So I mean, it came out okay. And so here's the pipe. Now back to doing the, you know, this came out really clean because it's not as big, you know, 2 inches, really hard to work with. So I didn't get a whole lot of glue everywhere on this. I mean, it's all glued, but you just can't see it. I'm hoping it's, you know, I have enough glue in there to actually glue the fitting, but I wanted it to look really clean, really nice. And then, you know, like I said, this piece right here got reversed when I was gluing it. So then the lines that the lines were different. So when I put it together, I don't know if you can tell in the video, but the 90 is a little bit off. And what that did is it pitched it sideways a little bit, so there's a little bit of gap up there, but it's you know, it's nothing really. So that's the 12,000 wave line. It's a DC pump. These things are awesome. I bought it because you have feed modes, and you know, the pump, it's adjustable. It's basically it's a one and all pump. I mean, if you spend the money and get a big one, if you don't need all that flow, just turn it down, and you save energy because it's using less wattage as you go down. You have 6 different speeds on it, I think, 5 or 6, and they're just really cool. So it's just going to tee here to the pellet reactor. You know, we've got the valve there. The barb fitting back there is going to have a flexible hose on it. It's going to go under that fitting over here to the protein skimmer, and I'm just going to put on a white tee on the back or on the inlet of the skimmer and run that there. So my it's all nutrient rich coming out of the pellet reactors. You know, it's not going to go just everywhere in the water. It's going to go through the skimmer and get pulled out of the system, you know, before it gets a chance to flow all over. The second pump's going to go in the corner. I'm going to get an identical pump, same high flow, because again, I can turn it down if I don't need that high flow. It's going to go there. The pipe's going to go straight up just like this one. It's going to tee over to here to feed, you know, the second tank. I thought it was going to be refrigerant, but you know, I basically have stuff. I don't need macroalgae as a to pull out nutrients. I have a pellet reactor which does the same thing, so I don't need macroalgae in there. But you know, people say, you know, for the pods, that's okay. I mean, I'll buy pods and, you know, have them shipped, You know, you can buy bags of pods and dump them in your system to replenish those. So I just thought it'd be a kind of a nice second tank where I could put the other fish that I love as you know, non-reef friendly. You know, there's some fish in there, some live rock, and you know, nice little island aquascape in there, and a Kessel light hanging above it. It looks sweet right there. And then I got to say thanks to Coming At You Live, Reefer James. He I had this thing all messed up originally on the other videos. You know, that it was supposed to be over here, and then I had height issues where I knew it wouldn't drain because it, you know, it's pretty much flat straight across. It's just not going to drain that way. So then I had it behind it, and James, you know, thanks, man. This thing looks awesome now. I like it. I love this. I love this the way it's set up now. You know, the sump's next to it. I like, you know, you said I could probably sit here and, you know, I could view two tanks at the same time. So it's just an awesome way to. I just didn't think of it. You know, I had it back behind it and trying to make it easy, and the pipe's going straight down, and the, you know, the sump's so nice that, you know, James is right. I don't want to hide it behind there and not be able to get to it, inaccessible right here. It's just awesome. I mean, you know, it's waist height right here. I can get in there. I can. I actually, you know, I didn't buy one of those cookie cutter sumps. I had someone build it, and it just, you know, I built it the way I wanted it. I always liked the idea of the, you know, a refugium basically was my original idea, being here, and the pump feeding it, and then the overflow just comes right to the sump. So, you know, but, you know, I like the idea of second tank there, and then the probe holders, you know, that just came out really nice. I like it like that, and this removable tray, I had them build it like that. As you've seen, the other one that comes out, the filter sockets come out, and it's really nice. And then Reefer Gill, I was always going to do it before, but he reminded me, man, before I glued this stuff together. I mean, I was like probably hours away from gluing that section, and I was forgetting about those standpipes. You can always get ahead of yourself when you're building stuff, you know. So thank God I got the standpipes in. I wanted these to look really nice, so I sanded the stuff off, and I didn't want paint in there, so I sanded all the writing off. The other piping, all this little junk that Home Depot puts on there, and the barcodes and whatnot, I'm gonna touch all that up with paint in a little bit of time. So what else? Oh, the second pump, like I was saying, I think I was talking about it, but there's gonna be another pump in the corner. It's gonna feed this. It's gonna straight up. It's gonna come over here, and that board that you see right there was the leftover piece for the base of this, you know, hardwood on there. So I got that piece. So what I'm gonna do is mount the controls for the two pumps right here. So then, you know, once I want to feed, when I feed the tank, I just come over here, hit the two buttons. The pumps go off for 30 minutes. That'll kill all the flow and everything. And I'll get to the protein skimmer because it's going to have the same kind of a pump. So I'll get back to that in a minute. But then the piping for the feed all this stuff is going to come up. It's going to come across. It's going to go behind that board, and that board is going to be off the wall a little bit, so it'll look a little bit cleaner. The supply line is going to come here, which this is cool. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to drill holes, one on this side and one on this side. Maybe 1 inch, maybe inch. I'll run 1.25 inches over, and then I'll have 1 inch after, you know, maybe 1 inch coming through here, so it's not such a big hole in, and it chews up too much of the wood. But maybe bring a 1 inch through here, and then what I'll do is all the piping for the chiller and the media reactors and all that will be on this back side here with the ball valves and whatnot. And then what I'll do is the piping will be on that side. I'll just drill holes, like let's say for the chiller, you know, 2 1/2-inch holes. I'm going to shorten the tubing right here, so it just goes just through, and then it's going to have this. I got this fitting for it. Then it's going to go to hard pipe, same, you know, in and out. And then you know, I got this bulk reef supply reactor, And instead of running GFO and carbon here, it's just going to be 2 carbons. Just because I want to get a different GFO reactor. So I'll run 2 carbons in there, and then what I did was I'm going to take this off, and I turn. Normally, you know, when you buy them, they're together, and then you know, you have your in and your out, or your out and in, whichever way it runs. But I turned them this way, so, and I'm going to take this off. This is just a 1/2 inch mil thread to, you know, to pipe slip, and it's going to be 1/2 inch. So it's going to come in here. There's going to be a T. It's going to feed both. One maybe like a 3/4 to half T. You know, 3/4 in, half and half, and then it'll supply them both with valves on it, and or you know, something. Maybe I'll come down from the top, or I got to figure it out. But they're going to have ball valves, so I can adjust them. And then the out on them is here on the back. So what I'm going to do is, you know, it's going to be mounted to the wall, and it's just going to have a stub out through there. So it'll kind of look pretty cool, look pretty clean actually, I think. And then that way I can get to them. It's going to be the chiller is going to stay there, and then the reactors will probably be up on this next level. I might put a couple boards like shelves in between, or maybe not, because I mean the canisters, they got to unscrew and you got to be able to get to them. So maybe I'll just hang that. Maybe I'll have a board somewhere, you know, because I'm going to have the other reactor for the GFO. I'm going with the RLSS, which is reef line support, something like that. It's RLSS. I think it's Reef Life Support Systems, and they're out of Canada. They make some really good products. Google them or look on YouTube. They got some really cool skimmers. I'm doing a skimmer that way, and the skimmer is really cool because it uses the same motor, the same pump as this, the 1200, which a lot of skimmers don't put out, you know, 2800 gallons per minute, and the air that thing pulls in is a lot. And basically, where you see that strainer on there, it's upright, so that's pointing down, and the casing is off. Where the pipe's going up, that casing's off, so you see the pinwheel, and it's mounted, you know, pinwheel's facing down. So when you see that thing start up, you know if anything's in there. You know how clean your pinwheel is. You know when it needs to be maintenance. When you get dirty, you can just. I love it because you can see it. So check that out. That's what I'm saving up for next. That and the aquascaping. So it's gonna be a little bit before I put out my next video. Like I said, I got to save up for this stuff. Oh, another thing I like about that protein skimmer is it's black and white, so it's going to match everything. It's just, those things are unreal. So definitely getting one of those. Again, another thing I like is because the controller, it has different speeds. They're all soft start. You know, the DC pumps, they're all soft start, so they start up real slow. They don't start hitting. If you got a power out that's going to start up slow, they always start. I've had so many pumps go out because of they just didn't start up, and then I didn't know it and they burned out. So you know, double the price, but you got a lot more bang for your buck. And then another thing is, let's say you're doing a water change, and you know, you're having wet skim. As soon as you change your water, it starts doing a wet skim on you. You just turn down the pump to 1, and you know, 1 button, and then it's not wet skimming. Just run it like that for a little bit, and maybe hit it up a couple, you know, to where it adjusts where you had it before, and then in a few hours you can pump it back up. So it's great. It's got a feed mode, so you just push the button. You know, you're on feed for 30 minutes. I hit the 3 buttons. Everything's turned down off for 30 minutes. You know, corals can feed, and the fish can feed, and it's just gonna be sweet once I get all this done. So anyways, I'm glad. Again, thanks Jim, Memorex, thanks for the tip on the valves. Jeff, I'm still putting some GFIs over here so we got some safety. I don't get shocked and wind up dead on the floor. And everyone else that gave me some tips and stuff for this build, appreciate it. Alright, keep watching. I'll be back in a couple weeks with the next video. All right, thanks.